6. Role of Chanakya, Kautilya. No account of Chandragupta Maurya's rise and the foundation of the Maurya Empire is complete without acknowledging the pivotal role of Chanakya, also known as Kautilya or Vishnugupta. He was a master strategist, statesman, economist and philosopher, often regarded as the Indian Machiavelli, though he preceded Machiavelli by nearly 2 millennia. Origins and background. Chanakya was a Brahmin scholar from Takshashila, one of the most prestigious centers of learning in the ancient world. His expertise in subjects like politics, economics, law, military strategy and philosophy made him a formidable intellectual force. He is traditionally said to have vowed to overthrow the Nandas after being insulted by Dana Nanda in the court of Magadha. This personal vendetta soon transformed into a political mission to remove corrupt leadership and create a just and powerful state. Discovering Chandragupta. While searching for a capable leader to challenge the Nandas, Chanakya discovered Chandragupta, a gifted and ambitious youth. Recognizing his potential, he trained him in political philosophy, warfare, and administrative science. This mentor-disciple relationship became one of the most influential partnerships in Indian history. Architect of strategy and governance. Chanakya was not only the strategist behind Chandragupta's military campaigns, but also the architect of the Mauryan administrative system. His political philosophy is enshrined in the Arthashastra, a detailed treatise on Dharma, duty of a king, foreign policy, the famous Saptanga and Mandala theories, espionage and internal security, economy and trade regulations, taxation and finance law and punishment. Though some scholars argue the Arthashastra was compiled over time and not solely written by Chanakya, its core ideas reflect his influence on early Mauryan governance. His espionage system, for example, was crucial in maintaining law and order across a vast empire. Spies disguised as merchants, ascetics and householders collected information, monitored local officials, and suppressed dissent. Role in diplomacy and expansion. Chanakya also played a major role in diplomatic affairs, particularly during the conflict with Seleucus I. His ability to balance war and negotiation helped Chandragupta avoid costly, prolonged warfare while achieving significant territorial gains. His legacy. Chanakya's legacy endures not only through the empire he helped build, but also through his writings. The Arthashastra remains a seminal work on governance, studied to this day by political scientists, economists, and historians. His blend of realpolitik, ethical pragmatism, and strategic thinking set the foundation for one of the most efficiently governed empires in world history. While his later life is not well documented, most traditions agree that he either retired after Chandragupta's abdication or died soon after, having fulfilled his mission of creating a unified and stable Indian empire. Administration and military organization under Chandragupta Maurya. One of Chandragupta Maurya's greatest achievements, alongside unifying much of the Indian subcontinent, was the establishment of a highly efficient and centralized administrative and military system. This system laid the foundation for the long-lasting success of the Maurya Empire and was further refined by his successors. 7.1 Centralized administration. The Maurya administration was highly centralized, with the emperor at the top of a hierarchical structure. Every province, district, town and village was connected through a chain of authority and oversight, ensuring control across a vast and culturally diverse empire. Emperor. The emperor was the supreme authority in political, military, judicial and economic matters. He was assisted by a council of ministers, Mantriparishad, composed of highly learned and trusted advisors, possibly including Chanakya himself. Provincial administration. The empire was divided into provinces, each governed by a Kumara, royal prince or trusted governor, representing the emperor. Important provinces included Tosali, Ujjain, Taxila and Suvarnagiri. District and local governance. Provinces were subdivided into districts, Ahara, administered by Rajukas, district officials. Villages formed the grassroots of administration and were managed by Gramikas, village headmen. Officials maintained records of revenue, land surveys and census data. 7.2 Bureaucracy and officials. The Mauryan bureaucracy was sophisticated, and included numerous officials with specialized roles: amatyas, general administrators and ministers; Sanidata, controller of treasury and stores; Samaharta, chief revenue collector; Dandapala, head of police and internal security; Dhakaradhyaksha, superintendent of mines; Panyadhyaksha, superintendent of commerce and trade. The Arthashastra outlines these roles in detail, reflecting a deep understanding of how to manage a complex economy and society. 7.3 Urban Administration. Cities like Pataliputra had a special municipal council of 30 members, divided into 6 committees with 5 members each. 1. Supervision of industrial arts. 2. Regulation of foreigners. 3. Registration of births and deaths. 4. Control of commerce and trade. 5. Regulation of weights and measures. 6. Supervision of public works, roads, sanitation, etc. This system enabled efficient urban governance and reflected an early model of civic administration. 7.4 Military organization. The Maurya Empire maintained one of the largest and most disciplined standing armies in the ancient world. Composition of the army. According to Greek sources like Megasthenes, the army included 600,000 infantry, 30,000 cavalry, 9,000 war elephants, 8,000 chariots. The army was organized into specialized units, each with its own command structure. War Council. A war office composed of 30 members, like the Urban Council, was divided into 6 boards for Satinu 1, infantry 2, cavalry 3, elephants 4, chariots 5, navy 6, transport and logistics. Fortifications and defense cities and frontier towns were heavily fortified. Garrisons, lookouts and outposts ensured internal security and border defense, espionage and intelligence. A massive spy network operated across the empire, providing information on foreign states, internal unrest and corrupt officials. Spies took on various disguises: merchants, monks, wandering ascetics or artisans to move unnoticed. 7.5 Law and Justice. Law was administered through a combination of customary law, royal edicts and Arthashastra's legal codes. The King's Court was the highest court of appeal. Civil and criminal courts operated at provincial and district levels. Punishments were often severe but aimed to act as deterrents. Economic policies and trade under Chandragupta Maurya. The economic policies established by Chandragupta Maurya were fundamental to the success and sustainability of the Maurya Empire. His centralized system of governance allowed for effective economic management, which helped the empire thrive in various sectors like agriculture, trade, industry, and taxation. Agricultural economy. Agriculture formed the backbone of the Mauryan economy, employing the majority of the population. The fertile lands along the Ganges, Indus, and Godavari rivers provided ample opportunity for farming. State-controlled agriculture. The Maurya government implemented land surveys and established a system of state-controlled land revenue. The empire collected taxes from farmers, typically in the form of a portion of their crops, often 25–33%. Irrigation systems. Large-scale irrigation systems were developed, especially in areas with less natural rainfall. The state took an active role in ensuring that the agricultural infrastructure supported productivity. Wheat, barley, rice, and sugarcane were among the main crops grown. Additionally, cotton and other textiles were produced in large quantities. 8.2 Industry and craftsmanship. The Maurya Empire saw considerable development in industries, particularly under the patronage of the state. Textiles. India's cotton and silk industries flourished, producing high-quality fabrics for both domestic use and trade. Metallurgy. India was known for its advanced knowledge of metallurgy. The production of iron tools, weapons, and armor was vital for both military and agricultural purposes. Trade goods. Other industries such as pottery, ivory carving, and woodwork thrived under imperial support. The Arthashastra discusses the regulation and protection of crafts and industries, reflecting the empire's focus on economic stability. 8.3 Commerce and trade. Trade, both internal and external, played a significant role in the Maurya Empire's economy. Internal trade. The Mauryas built an extensive network of roads and infrastructure, facilitating trade between various regions of the empire. Marketplaces were well regulated, with merchants paying taxes on their goods. Standardized weights and measures ensured fairness in trade. External trade. Chandragupta's expansion into northwestern India, including the regions of Bactria and Persia, provided access to the vast markets of the ancient world. The Silk Road connected India to the farthest reaches of Central Asia, China, and the Mediterranean. India exported products such as spices, gems, textiles, precious metals, and luxury items. Imports included wine, glassware, and timber. Ports and shipping. Coastal trade was facilitated by the development of ports along the western coast, such as in Surat and Cambay, and eastern coast, in places like Tamralipta, modern-day Tamluk. These ports were crucial for maritime trade with the Greeks, Arabs, and other parts of Southeast Asia. 8.4 Taxation System. 8.4 Taxation System. The Maurya Empire implemented a sophisticated taxation system which was essential for the maintenance of its military, administration, and infrastructure. Taxes were levied on land, property, and trade, and the state had officials to assess, collect, and ensure compliance. Land tax. Farmers paid a substantial portion of their produce to the state. The amount varied, but it was generally about 25–33% of the crops. Trade and market taxes. Traders and merchants had to pay tolls and taxes on their goods, especially in the major market centers. Other taxes. There were taxes on mining, industries, and even religious offerings. Chanakya's Arthashastra emphasizes the importance of an efficient tax system in maintaining a stable and prosperous empire. However, it also warns against excessive taxation that could lead to unrest among the population. Of currency and financial systems. Under Chandragupta, the Maurya Empire began issuing a standardized coinage system, which helped streamline commerce both domestically and with foreign nations. The coins were made of gold, silver, and copper, with Mauryan symbols stamped on them, including representations of elephants, deer, and other symbols of power and prosperity. The Mauryan financial system was highly organized, with state-controlled treasuries overseeing the wealth of the empire. Royal treasuries ensured that funds were allocated for administrative costs, military expenses, and infrastructure projects. Role of commerce and urbanization. Trade played a significant role in the growth of urban centers within the Maurya Empire. Cities like Pataliputra, Ujjain, Taxila, and Peshawar became bustling hubs of trade, commerce, and culture. The urbanization process helped in the development of specialized professions and a thriving merchant class. The imperial capital, Pataliputra, was a grand city with well-planned infrastructure. Roads, marketplaces, fortifications, and public buildings testifying to the wealth generated from the empire's robust economy. Religious policies and Ashoka's conversion. While Chandragupta Maurya initially followed a pragmatic religious policy that embraced multiple traditions, his grandson, Ashoka the Great, R.C. 232 BCE, would transform the religious landscape of the Maurya Empire through his personal conversion to Buddhism and the subsequent promotion of Buddhist principles across his empire. Ashoka's reign marks one of the most significant religious shifts in Indian history, not only due to his conversion, but also because of the way he institutionalized Buddhist ideals and non-violence as guiding principles for governance. Chandragupta's religious policy. Chandragupta Maurya himself is said to have adhered to a pragmatic religious approach, influenced by the teachings of Chanakya. While he ruled a largely Hindu society, he did not enforce religious uniformity, Hinduism. As the dominant religion in the region, Hindu practices and rituals were followed by most of the population. Jainism. Chandragupta's personal interest in Jainism grew over time. According to Jain tradition, towards the end of his reign, he renounced the throne in favor of his son Bindusara and embraced Jainism under the influence of Bhadrabahu, a Jain monk. He is said to have migrated to Shravanabelagola in present-day Karnataka, where he died following the Jain practice of Salakana, voluntary death by fasting. Buddhism. Chandragupta's reign saw the growing influence of Buddhism, particularly after the decline of the Mauryan-Greek conflict, which had brought about greater contact between Indian and Hellenistic cultures. Though Chandragupta himself is not directly associated with the promotion of Buddhism, the early Maurya period provided fertile ground for the spread of Buddhist ideas. 9.2. Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism. Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism is one of the most well-documented and celebrated events in Indian history. Although he initially ruled with a fierce and aggressive military hand, especially after a brutal campaign to conquer Kalinga, modern-day Odisha, his transformation after this campaign marked a significant change in both his personal beliefs and his approach to governance. The Kalinga War, c. 261 BCE. Ashoka's conquest of Kalinga is a defining moment in his reign. The war resulted in significant loss of life, with estimates of casualties ranging from 100,000 to 150,000 soldiers and civilians. Ashoka was deeply disturbed by the aftermath of this violent conflict, leading him to question his approach to governance. Conversion to Buddhism. In the aftermath of the Kalinga War, Ashoka turned to Buddhism, embracing its teachings of non-violence, ahimsa, compassion, and peace. He began to adopt Buddhist practices and sought the guidance of Buddhist monks, particularly the monk Upagupta, who played a significant role in Ashoka's conversion. 9.3. Promotion of Buddhism and ethical governance. 9.3. Promotion of Buddhism and ethical governance. After his conversion, Ashoka sought to integrate Buddhist principles into the governance of the Maurya Empire. His efforts in this regard are reflected in several significant reforms and policies. Ashoka's edicts. Ashoka inscribed his Dhamma edicts on rock pillars and stone tablets across his empire. These edicts promoted moral conduct, tolerance, and compassion. The edicts often urged his subjects to live according to the principles of Buddhism, including non-violence, truthfulness, generosity, and respect for all living beings. The spread of Buddhism. Ashoka supported the spread of Buddhism both within India and abroad. He sent Buddhist missionaries to regions as far as Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. His son, Mahinda, played a key role in spreading Buddhism to Sri Lanka, establishing the religion as a dominant force in the region. Religious tolerance. Despite his strong affiliation with Buddhism, Ashoka promoted religious tolerance. He respected other religions such as Hinduism and Jainism, as seen in his tolerant approach to religious practices and his endorsement of religious dialogues. He declared that people should respect other religions and engage in peaceful coexistence. 9.4. Ashoka's welfare state. Ashoka's commitment to Dharma, moral law, led him to establish a welfare state focused on the well-being of his subjects. Dhamma Mahamatras. Ashoka appointed Dhamma Mahamatras, officers tasked with ensuring that the emperor's moral policies were followed. These officials were responsible for overseeing public morality, ensuring that the needs of the elderly, the sick, women, and children were met, and making sure that people were treated fairly. Healthcare and infrastructure. Ashoka built hospitals both for humans and animals, and established public rest houses and water tanks. He also promoted the planting of trees along roads to provide shade and comfort to travelers. Religious and ethical reforms. Ashoka advocated for ethical behavior through public decrees, often emphasizing the importance of peace, harmony, and moral integrity. 9.5. Ashoka's legacy. Ashoka's conversion to Buddhism and his efforts to promote peace, non-violence, and moral governance had a lasting impact on both Indian society and world history. His reign is often considered a golden age of moral and ethical leadership. Buddhism as a state religion. Under Ashoka, Buddhism not only became a significant state religion, but also began to spread internationally. Legacy of peace. Ashoka's focus on ahimsa and his pacifist approach to governance have inspired numerous later leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi, who viewed Ashoka's principles of non-violence as a guiding ideal for social and political life. Cultural and religious impact. Ashoka's promotion of Buddhism contributed to its growth, leading to the establishment of a large Buddhist monastic community and influencing Buddhist art, architecture, and philosophy for centuries. The decline of the Maurya Empire. The Maurya Empire stood as one of the most powerful and well-administered states in ancient India. But after the death of Ashoka in 232 BCE, the empire began to experience a slow but steady decline. Various factors, both internal and external, contributed to the downfall of this once mighty empire. The process was gradual, but by the end of the 2nd century BCE, the Maurya Empire had disintegrated, and India entered a period of fragmentation, one weakening of central authority. After Ashoka's death, his empire faced a series of challenges that led to the weakening of central authority. Succession issues. Ashoka's successors were largely ineffective rulers. His immediate successors, including his sons and grandsons, lacked the political acumen and military strength that Ashoka had displayed. As a result, they struggled to maintain control over the vast and diverse empire. Brihadratha, the last Mauryan ruler, is said to have been a weak monarch, and his reign marked the final decline of Mauryan power. Fragmentation of power. The vast territories of the Maurya Empire became increasingly difficult to govern. Provincial governors, once appointed by the central government, began to assert more autonomy and control over their territories. As the central power weakened, regional states gained more influence, leading to fragmentation. 10.2 Economic strain. The Maurya Empire had a robust economy, but after Ashoka's death, the empire faced economic difficulties. Heavy taxation. The Maurya system of taxation had been relatively high, and after Ashoka's reforms, it became difficult for the empire to sustain its large bureaucracy, military, and welfare programs. Economic instability contributed to increasing dissent and discontent among the population. Decline in trade. Decline in trade. While trade had been a key source of wealth, both internal and external trade faced challenges. The empire's decline affected infrastructure, and security on trade routes weakened, making commerce less profitable. The loss of control over important trade routes and markets contributed to economic decline. Agricultural decline. Due to administrative inefficiencies and neglect of agricultural policies, agricultural output began to decline, further straining the economy. 10.3 Military weaknesses. The Maurya military had been a powerful force under Ashoka, but after his reign, the empire's military strength gradually diminished. Invasions and foreign threats. External threats, particularly from the Indo-Greeks in the northwest and Shakas, also weakened the empire's defenses. The Greeks had established strongholds in the northwest after Alexander's invasion, and they occasionally posed a threat to the western frontiers of the Maurya Empire. Decline of the army. The vast Mauryan military, which had been crucial to maintaining control over the empire's large territories, gradually became less effective. The weakening of the central authority meant that local militias and tribal confederations became more independent, undermining the empire's ability to defend its borders and maintain internal order. 10.4 Internal dissent and rebellions. The empire also faced internal rebellions, which contributed to its collapse. Regional revolts. Several provinces, including Taxila, Ujjain, and Kalinga, saw uprisings and revolts against the central authority. These rebellions were often triggered by local dissatisfaction with taxation, administrative corruption, and lack of proper governance. Religious conflicts. Though Ashoka had promoted religious tolerance, the post-Ashokan period saw a resurgence of Hinduism and Jainism in some regions, while Buddhism started to lose favor in others. Tensions between different religious communities may have led to further instability. 10.5 The assassination of Brihadratha. The final blow to the Maurya Empire came with the assassination of the last Mauryan ruler Brihadratha in 185 BCE. Pushyamitra Shunga. According to ancient texts, Brihadratha was killed by his general, Pushyamitra Shunga, who then declared himself the ruler of the empire. This marks the formal end of the Maurya Empire. Foundation of the Shunga dynasty. Pushyamitra Shunga's rise to power ushered in the Shunga dynasty, which replaced the Mauryas. Although the Shungas ruled over much of the former Mauryan heartland, they could not restore the unity and power that the Maurya Empire had once held. The Shungas and other regional powers ushered in a period of political fragmentation. 10.6 Long-term consequences of the decline. Despite the disintegration of the Maurya Empire, its impact on Indian history and civilization endured. Cultural legacy. The Maurya period left an indelible mark on Indian culture, particularly through Ashoka's promotion of Buddhism. The spread of Buddhism throughout Asia continued long after the empire's fall, and many of Ashoka's edicts were preserved and continued to influence subsequent rulers and empires. Political lessons. The Mauryan experience served as an important lesson in the dynamics of large empire building. The empire's decline highlighted the fragility of centralized authority and the need for strong leadership, economic stability, and military preparedness. Spread of Indian culture. Despite political fragmentation, India continued to be a center of cultural and intellectual life. The decline of the Mauryas did not lead to the collapse of Indian civilization, but rather set the stage for the emergence of regional kingdoms and empires, such as the Gupta Empire, which would later bring about a cultural renaissance. The Mauryan legacy in history and culture. Although the Maurya Empire declined and eventually collapsed, its legacy had a profound and lasting influence on Indian history, culture, and society. The achievements of the Maurya dynasty, particularly during the reign of Ashoka, continue to resonate through the ages, shaping the course of Indian civilization and influencing other cultures across Asia. One political legacy: centralized governance and administrative systems. One of the Mauryan Empire's most significant contributions was its establishment of a centralized system of governance. The political systems and administrative structures developed under Chandragupta and Ashoka set the foundation for subsequent empires in India. Centralized bureaucracy. The Mauryan Empire's bureaucratic system, with its network of officials, provincial governors, and administrative districts, influenced the Indian subcontinent's political structure for centuries. The Arthashastra by Chanakya provided the blueprint for governance with detailed instructions on administration, taxation, law, and military organization. Legal and taxation systems. Legal and taxation systems. Ashoka's Dharma edicts were not only a manifestation of his moral principles, but also reflected a form of ethical governance. His administration emphasized the rule of law, respect for all people, and justice, which inspired future rulers to adopt similar ethical approaches to governance. The Mauryan taxation system, with its emphasis on regulating markets, resources, and trade, laid the groundwork for future economic management in India. 11.2. Religious legacy: the spread of Buddhism. The most notable aspect of Ashoka's reign was his conversion to Buddhism and the promotion of Buddhist principles as state policy. His support of Buddhism had far-reaching consequences. Buddhism spread. Ashoka sent Buddhist missionaries to regions as far as Sri Lanka, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia, ensuring that Buddhism would become a global religion. His son Mahinda played a key role in introducing Buddhism to Sri Lanka, where it would become the dominant religion. Ashoka's edicts and religious tolerance. The Dharma edicts laid the foundation for religious tolerance in India, with Ashoka encouraging his subjects to respect other faiths and coexist peacefully. This ethos of tolerance would influence the moral and ethical landscape of India for generations. Buddhist monasticism. The Maurya's patronage of Buddhism helped establish the Buddhist monastic tradition, with large Buddhist monasteries and universities emerging during the period. Nalanda and Taxila would later become centers of learning and Buddhist scholarship. 11.3. Cultural and artistic legacy. The Maurya period saw significant developments in Indian art, architecture, and culture, much of which was influenced by Ashoka's religious and political ideals. Mauryan art and architecture. The Mauryan period witnessed the construction of some of the most remarkable monuments of ancient India, many of which were built to commemorate Ashoka's reign. Ashoka's pillars. The most iconic example of Mauryan art is the series of stone pillars erected by Ashoka across his empire, inscribed with his edicts and messages. These pillars are characterized by their fine workmanship, lion capitals, and intricate carvings. Stupas and monuments. Ashoka also commissioned the construction of numerous stupas, Buddhist shrines, which became important places of worship and pilgrimage. The Sanchi Stupa in Madhya Pradesh, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is one of the best preserved examples of Mauryan architecture. Indian sculpture. Mauryan sculptures, particularly the life-size animal figures such as lions and elephants, were intricately carved and displayed a high level of artistic craftsmanship. These sculptures, often used in pillars and other monumental structures, remain significant representations of Mauryan artistry. 11.4 Economic and Trade Legacy. The economic policies of the Maurya Empire, particularly during the reign of Ashoka, laid the groundwork for long-term prosperity in the Indian subcontinent. Trade and commerce. The Mauryas were instrumental in creating a vast network of trade routes, both overland and maritime. This facilitated the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures between India, Central Asia, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Ashoka's emphasis on commerce, particularly state-regulated markets and taxation policies, helped stabilize the economy and encourage long-distance trade. This laid the foundation for future Indian empires to thrive economically through trade, especially during the Gupta period. Infrastructure development. The Mauryas built an extensive network of roads, bridges, and rest houses which facilitated travel and trade across the empire. The construction of irrigation systems and the establishment of agricultural policies helped improve crop production and the agricultural economy. 11.5 Educational and Intellectual Legacy. The Maurya period was also marked by significant developments in education, philosophy, and intellectual pursuits. Centers of learning. Under the Mauryas, institutions like Taxila and Nalanda began to flourish as centers of education, attracting students from all over the ancient world. These centers of learning became important sites for the study of philosophy, science, literature, and religion. Philosophical influence. The Mauryan period saw the rise of important philosophical schools, particularly Buddhism and Jainism. Ashoka's endorsement of these traditions influenced their development and spread across Asia. The philosophical ideas promoted during this time would influence Indian culture for centuries, particularly ideas of non-violence, compassion, and ethical governance. 11.6 Political inspiration for future Indian rulers. The policies of the Maurya Empire, particularly those of Ashoka, served as an example for many future rulers in India. Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire. The Mughals, particularly Akbar, admired Ashoka's religious tolerance and ethical leadership. Akbar's policies of religious tolerance and attempts to integrate diverse cultures within his empire were influenced by Ashoka's approach to governance. Modern India. Ashoka's emphasis on non-violence, ahimsa, tolerance and justice has inspired numerous leaders, including Mahatma Gandhi, who used Ashoka's principles to guide India's struggle for independence from British rule. Gandhi's philosophy of satyagraha, truth force, and ahimsa was deeply rooted in Ashoka's commitment to moral law and peace. The Maurya Empire's contributions to administration, religion, art, economy, and culture left a lasting legacy, shaping not only ancient Indian civilization, but also influencing the world beyond. The rise and fall of the Maurya Empire serves as an important chapter in the history of empires, offering lessons in political stability, religious tolerance, and ethical governance that continue to resonate today.